Tell them. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. There's a few people have asked me about the raffle, and we're just doing it a little bit differently these days. So wait till after the meeting. After the meeting, we will do the raffle, and we'll come around and try and take all your money. So get your money ready, and we'll do it after the meeting. We're doing the raffle after the meeting. Don't worry, we haven't forgotten about you. We still want your money. And there's lots of good prezzies, but we're going to have a nice little AGM first. Then we'll come and collect. Come around and do the raffle, right? And then we'll draw it. Then we'll have the barbecue. And happy days. Everyone can go home.
We'll draw it while we're having the barbecue.
Anybody want a water while I've got one here spare?
One. Yeah, yep. You want a water? Anyone want a water? Leave one for Jade. Mm-hmm. All right. Welcome, everybody. It's another great turnout. Thank you very much for coming. We've got apologies so far for Eva. Is Ben still here? We'll say Ben. Eva, Ben, Kerry, and Katie. Katie's here, I think. Katie? Yep. Oh. We'll cancel Katie off. Katie's here. Just cross that out. Look, thank you all for last year's support of the club and the meetings. It's been a really good turnout of people to pretty much every meeting last year, which is really, really good. It sort of makes the day, makes the barbecue, and gives some more socialising and catching up with each other, and a chance to mingle with other bird breeders and chew the fat. So that's been really good, and also to the committee. So thank you again for last year's efforts. Some bigger and better projects this year, which will be exciting. So we're all looking forward to it. So first of all, we'll just go through with the Treasurer's report, and you'll have the Auditor's report at the same time. And then we'll see if there's any questions following that. So I'll hand over to Jude.
Okay, hi. I'm getting a little bit better at this. It's like my third time, I think, but I'm still pretty useless at talking on this thing. I've tried to keep it short and sweet, but there's still a lot of financial jargon, but I'm really doing my best. So basically, the first thing I will tell you is the bank balances, right? Because this is the important thing, to see how much money we've got in the bank. So that is in memberships. We have $7,586.86. In the shop account, we have $4,010. This fluctuates a lot through the month, and I always keep a tab on the monthly ones as well. And sometimes we're like up to $20,000, and sometimes, and then it's down to like $1,000. It's like just a roller coaster. Tara's doing a really good job with the ordering. She's trying to just order, $40,000 this week and $30,000 the next week, so that it sort of balances out. Because if they all come at the same time and all due at the same time, I run out of money. So she's doing a great job, and we're trying to do this balancing act. So even though the shop has only got $4,000 in it, every single bill is paid that is due for this month, and we're already at the end of the month. Even the rent is paid up. I try to keep that one month ahead. So that's $4,600 or something, which I could save till the very last minute of the following month, but I'm trying to keep ahead of things. I don't think we've got any more big outcomes coming in. Like, I don't think we've got any freight business coming in or big exporting things. I think we're going to be okay for the next few months. In the events account, that's good. It's going up to $4,780 at the minute, and this is all the money that is coming from people, the delegates that are starting to pay for their accommodation and pay for their tickets to the convention. So I want you all to think about the convention, because 2 years ago I thought, oh my God, we've got years till the next one. all of a sudden it is here. And, so I'm frantically sending out invoices for trade tables and different things like this. So it's really, really good if you want to come to the convention, and it was a brilliant thing last 2 years ago. Start putting down payments or something. You can pay $100 a week off, or a month, or a fortnight, or whatever, and suddenly it's paid for. It's only $400 and something, and you get a huge, huge amount of food, entertainment. Everything in that convention is amazing. It's worth every cent. We've kept it at the same price. So $70, whatever it is not a lot of money if you break it up, and I've got a system set up where you can pay $100 whenever you feel like, and then suddenly it's only $300, then it's $200, then it's $100, and whooshka, you paid it off, and you're coming to a great event. So that I'm happy with. That's nearly $5,000, and so I'm good with that. Okay, and I'll just tell you just quickly the trust account. I'm not going to go into why and where, whatever, but it's at $44,331. All right. So on to the important stuff for the AGM, which is the audit. So the shop has been audited. It's taken a lot of mucking about and stuff, and we've finally done it all. It's been tried and tested, and it's perfect. So this is what he had to say about it. So I asked him to give me a little summary, and then I'll tell you what Tara thinks about the shop account and how that has how that looks to us. All right, so they've gone. Currently, the financial statements show a net profit of $13,060. While not as good as the previous 2024 financial year, which showed a profit of $86,000, that's because we had the convention and all other sort of bits. This is still an improvement on the years prior, which were losses. I also would like to draw attention to the below. So this is why we've got less overall money as profit, because it's sitting in the stock available to sell on the shelves. Okay, so there's more than $15,000 more bought to put on the shelves, and there was more stock purchases throughout the year when compared with the previous year. So as of the 31st of October, which is the end of the Parrot Society's financial year, there was $134,048 of stock on hand, which we own. We own that. It's there ready to go. So that's why I think the profit thing doesn't look as good to me as I think it really is. But anyway, he's the expert. So expenses are quite consistent with the prior 24 financial year. There was significant increases in rent from $21,000 to $26,000. There was also significant decreases in expenses, where I'll get into that a little bit further. Okay, and the bank balances have been fairly consistent when compared to the last year and the overall cash this year. So some areas to note he's written, and because a lot of our money also comes from memberships. So the memberships is down a little bit. So in 2024, it was $51,000 for memberships, and this year in the coffers was only $29,000. So membership has dropped off, and that makes a difference to the overall running of the whole shop. There's $20,000 that used to be there but isn't there now. And of course, costs of everything else is going up. As you know, I keep telling you about the magazine and the calendar and the printing, and all this stuff has a huge effect on how much the club is managing. But seriously, I do believe that the club is better than it was. I think that the stock and the supply of stuff is better than it was. I think that I think we're doing all this for you members, and I think, yes, it all costs money, and I don't care whether we don't have $1 million in the bank. I just want enough to keep it going, keep the quality going, and keep, just ticking along and not being at zero, which it isn't. Okay, so now that this is done, this audit, which is here, so anybody that wants to see it is just here. There's only the one copy because everything is digital these days. We've got to move with the times. Everything is there. You can take it around here, but you cannot take it out the door. I will track you down. I have your addresses. Anyway, for people that want to see the little nitty-gritty figures, that's fantastic. So now that this is done, then I pack this up, put the minutes together, and I post it off to the Office of Fair Trading. And then for another year, the Parrot Society of Australia is chickadee-boo, good to go. Because you all do realise that this is a small business. So small businesses have lots and lots of responsibilities. What else can I tell you? That's enough about that. I told you I wasn't going to talk much, but I fibbed. Okay, this is the shop report from Tara. Okay, and I praise her all the time, because when you walk into that shop and you see how things that you've ordered are there, that everything is clean and tidy, and she's on the ball. She's amazing. She's good at technical. She goes tappity tap 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 and pops up with these sort of figures. Okay, so this is her report. So over the last 12 months, performance has remained strong compared to the previous 12 months. So the numbers of orders have increased by 5% to more than 5,500 orders. That's a lot of orders and a lot of packing that those girls do in there. Net sales rose by 14% to more than $640,000. So a lot of money runs through this club, but a lot of money runs out as well. Gross profit increased by 13% to $165,000. Okay, so in 2026, we will focus on, this is her projected plan, focus on increased advertising and promotion to build on this momentum and drive further growth. Okay, this is really good. She's very good at that. This is where we get the Facebook posts out. We get all the information out to the members so that you can know what's going on, and so that we can try and reach more people out. There's millions of bird people that don't even know we exist. So this is a driving force, and it's not easy to enter. You know, you've just got to do it right, and it costs money. And of course, the Parrot Society does not have like advertising budget. So we don't give her any money for this. We just make her do it in her own time or while she's working at the shop. But it seems to be working, and then next year it might be another story. Okay, so staffing updates. So Adrian was wonderful. I think he was here for 2 years, and he's finished his role and he's completed his master's in education. So he's off to teach little kids somewhere. And we thank him for his contribution, which we do. He was fabulous. He did Saturdays and other days when they were in trouble. So Sarah has returned to the team. Sarah was here a while ago, and she, along with Nikki, they do the other days. One does a Monday, some of them do a Saturday. And we had a discussion, which this is another good thing about the club, what I'm telling you. I don't know, we don't have tons of money to say I've got this money now, but we have enough money that we can put another staff member on for another day. So just to keep the shop and everything running smoothly, we are giving one more day. So 8 hours here while Tara is working. So Tara can do administrative jobs, take on other roles that as a shop manager that she is able to do. And then there's another person and someone to help on those days when you're getting big loads of pallets of seed and stuff in. So the shop, we have looked about it. We talked about it last meeting, and then we've just offered another day to Sarah. So she's up and running. She's qualified. She's fabulous. She's enthusiastic. So we're very, very, very lucky. Okay, what else? I'm glad I wasn't going to talk much. We are also grateful for the continued support of 3 dedicated volunteers. So Pauline, Neville and Paul, who assist on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. In addition, we are working with a local support group whose clients attend for 1 hour on Tuesday afternoons to gain practical, real work experience. She thanks everyone who has contributed to a productive and successful year. I think she's summed it up pretty well. So, okay, that's her report. Let me see, what other thing have I got? Anybody got any questions? Hang on a minute. All right. So when I was telling you about all that waffle and whatever, there's some things we can't change, but there is some things we can. So we can't change wages, rent, workers' insurance, shop and contents insurance, the bookkeeper, the accountants, which cost a fortune. We can't change ASIC and Fair Trading, who always put fees out there, right? These are things we can't change. So we're trying to figure out things that we can change so that we can save some money and streamline the process, make it easier for members to access what we know and for us so we're not burnt out. All right, so we're looking at doing regular preventative simple maintenance on things like the air conditioners and the walkie stacker. They're getting routinely cleaned, like deep cleans and full services. But we're checking the water in the batteries. We're making sure that things are wiped down clean and whatever, so that we're just being more preventative instead of going, oh my God, this is busted and now we're really up for a lot of money. Okay, so plans for the future is, like I keep saying, is streamlining. Am I boring you, Pauline? Streamlining the processes due to members' confusion and double handling. This includes memberships. So Tara will be taking over the membership main role. It's all in the computer, right? Annette is happy with this. It's got to be simpler to ring one person, to tap the button, and whooshka, you're in the system and not waiting, for someone else to finalise it. So advertising, all that sort of stuff. Physical cards are a thing of the past, right? We have a machine up there that makes, when I say up there is Townsville, that makes the cards. They are pretty, and I'm old and I like them, but they don't have an expiry date on them, so they're useless. So you can flash it around, but you're not really a financial member unless you get in that computer and it goes, this is the date. All right, and that is one less step that needs to be taken, because by showing that there and then looking at the card, and then you've still got to go in the computer. So this is why we are just trying to work a bit smarter. All right. A year or so ago, oh yeah, this was true. So a year or so ago, there was a lot of members saying they were members. And in fact, a lot, like, I'm not going to say 100, but it was a lot. And every time there was a big list of members, and they weren't financial, and they were still getting the discount. So they're really ripping you off. And I know what we're like. Humans are crap. And we would get something for free if we can. I mean, I just had 3 biscuits. Yum. But the thing is, there's computer programs now that's pointed this out, but nobody really knew to look. So, we're not ripping you guys off. You're financial and you deserve to get special benefits, right? All right, that's enough of that. Okay. The printing machine is old, but we might find a new thing for it some way down the track. We might print something else, I don't know, like don't talk anymore or something. All right, to make money, we have to decrease postage. Postage was, I'm not kidding you, over $20,000 this year. This is to Australia Post. Why do you think they're just big fat cats? The 20 grand, that's printing magazines, sending those out, right? Sending out the magazines, sending out all the new magazines to new members. This comes and goes, and it comes from Townsville. We've got a couple of different accounts, and so what we're going to do now is we are streamlining these accounts. So Australia Post, they're happy as larks because we're sending stuff from here, there, and everywhere. If you send it from one main place, then you get into a different tier where you get more discounts on your postage. So we are trying to get it all into the shop area, right? The shop will be the main hub. Things go out here, we send thousands of parcels, right? Thousands of parcels. So this is where we need to have all the magazines, not have half of them sent to Townsville and the other half sent to the shop. Australia Post, they land in Townsville before they get to here, and then we're trying to get them out to you members, and they're not even here yet. Oh, they've gone to the wrong post box, blah, blah, blah. So we're trying to do that. That will save us, hopefully, we'll be able to tell next year, but I reckon it'll save us thousands of dollars, make it easier for everybody. That's my optimistic outview anyway. Okay, we're going to, like I said, increase advertising, contacting businesses. We get the ads in the Parrot News. We'll actually send out invoices for them. There was a bit of a glitch in the system. You can call it the Jude Udina glitch. Things got lost in transit. Communication was a little crappy. So, we're onto it now. It's taken us a bit to get gelled, if you ask me. And I think now that when we're sharing the load. So with an ad in the paper. Tara gets a message, oh, I'd like to put an ad in. She passes it to the editor, who's amazing, and she goes, right, I need these pictures, I need this story, this is how much it's going to cost, blah, blah, blah. Then, so that's their job. Not one person, that's not one person's all job. It's a bit of Tara, a bit of editor. And then when they've figured it all out, they'll say, Jude, invoice this person for this much. And it'll get done. But you can't expect one person to do it. So we've cut it all up a little bit to hopefully generate some more money, because I reckon we can generate money. All right, what else? Printing costs. Okay, it costs thousands. It costs like $8,000 or something just to get the magazine for Christmas and the calendar out. It was ridiculous. So we are considering looking at other printing options, and a lot of those would be overseas. So we haven't done it yet. I mean, we want to support Australia and whatever, but it's just, if it's too much and we're almost going broke, and that the members almost have to pay for the magazine, which none of you, the calendar, I mean, you don't really want to do that because it was a gift and you deserve it. So we're looking at cutting back on a lot of money. We're going to look in 2 different places. There's a bloke from the Finch Society, and there's some other options out there. Okay, wishful thinking for making money. This is what I've written. Are you still awake? The convention is coming up. I keep going on about this, right? So last time, I wrote this down. I can't remember this, but I'm pretty sure that convention 2 years ago, did it cost us $50,000? It's a lot of money, right? So we broke even last year. It was incredible, the effort that was made, and the amazing members that came and the delegates, and they loved it. I didn't hear one negative thing about the whole thing, but we're a bit on top of it more today too. So even though it's only a few months away, we still need to make money so that we end up having a profit at the end of it. And that would be, I've put our thing in for containers for change. So we're still in I've got the registration thing. I tried to make it work. It didn't work. I don't know, but we'll work it out. So that all of you guys, when you get the code in the magazine, you can just give us out your $10, aluminium cans if you want to. But there's people all over Australia that are members who donate to, say, the primary school. They might go, well, Jesus, I think I'll donate to the Parrot Society. If any amount of money, a couple of hundred, we might get thousands. It's going to be very, very interesting to see. But to support the club that you love, and we are not struggling, but we're not flourishing either, that could be a really good thing to get some money. And, all right. Okay. Sorry, you can have all my notes, Kim. All right, so, delegates are starting to pay, so that goes straight into the events account like I was telling you. That's great. Sponsors, now that the invoices are going out, sponsors are starting to pay. So at the end of the day, when everyone's paid their sponsorship, everyone's paid, the trade vendors have paid their tables, and the delegates have all paid, then we will know how much money we've got left. And wouldn't it be great coming up to the convention that we've got $50,000 in that thingo, because the venue costs $25,000 or something thousand. Then there's the food, and then there's the tours, and then there's the bus hire, and then there's all sorts of other stuff that come into it, right? So this is why I'm trying to I want to see that events account really, really, really up there, so that we're not struggling and going, oh, crikey, we're going to make a loss. So, all right, we've got the North Brisbane Bird Sale coming up. That makes money for it. And we used to talk about having little mini sales here to make money for it, so that you members get a convention and you get, sausages, yay, and you get lollies and chocolates or whatever it is at Christmas, and that Christmas dinner was fantastic, and that was all paid out of your money and what we've raised, for you members. All right. Oh, God, here I go. Anyway, big job that's taken a lot of time and effort, just so you know. I know I rave on a bit, but we can't really do much about big roles like editor, about my role. It's huge. I'm not trying to get a pat on the back, but it's a massive job. So there's some things we can delegate out to get a hand with, and and the other one is the website, right? These are things. Now, I love all the committee. We are a great committee. We all talk to each other through the chat. We call each other up. We're all friends. We are all trying to do this for the club. Okay? Anybody wants to be treasurer, please stand up now. No, okay. Yeah, see, you're all chickens. I got dragged into it kicking and screaming, but I tell you what, it's very rewarding, and I love these people that I'm walking with. They're just great. Everyone's great. So I've done all the streamlining nonsense, blah, 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 blah. All right. Okay, let me see. No, it doesn't matter. You could we'll have a really, really short general meeting because I think it's important. The AGM is important. You understand how the damn thing runs. It's a small business. It's not, just a little group of 10 people meeting for coffee down the road. All right. Now, do you want me to save this bit about the members group and whatever? Yeah, I think I'll save this bit. Do you want me? Yeah. There's something really important that's bothered me for a long time, but yes, it's probably more of a general thing because I want some feedback on it. That's it. I think that's it. All right, that'll do. Has anybody got any questions about the audit, about the running of the shop, about the business itself, about the crappy committee people? Anybody want to say anything? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, yes, that's a good question. We've got some... We've got a lot of members that are spread all over the place. A lot of them are here in North Queensland or whatever you call Southeast Queensland, whatever. But Annette, who is our membership committee member, she lives in Townsville. And she's done this for years. She's fantastic. So when, over the years, it used to be you just ring up and you've got a new member. They need, a membership card made and they need a little magazine popped out in the post and, and welcome pack and whatever it is. So that was her role. That was a great role. And she is still membership coordinator or whatever. But because of the changing times and everything, it's kind of unnecessary to split that role up when that role can be taken on by someone we already pay and who's got it all down here, got the computer, got everything she needs to do that. So Annette's job basically is really, really got a lot easier. She's still amazing and she's still, valuable part of the committee, but the biggest part of all the postage and all that nonsense from up there is over. So, so that's what it is. So, yes, half the stuff went up there, half went to the shop. Yeah. It's a good question, but you guys don't know this. You don't know half the stuff that goes on. Yes, but it's usually about 50%. So 50% go up there. And then over the years, so everything, so being in Townsville, it costs more. The postage costs more from Australia Post. And we're not, so just say now, that account now can be absorbed with the account from the shop, which pops us up into a better tier for postage so that we get a discount on everything that we send. So what, and like I said, it's going to be great when we see next year whether it actually has made any difference. But we think it will make a huge difference, but it may not. So, but we've got to try something. So we're all on board with that at the moment. Anything else, Beryl? No, I hope I cleared that up. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know much when I first started in this gig either. There's a lot going on. Okay, anything else, Brent? I'll give that to you now. It's got girl germs all over it. So that's it. That's it from me, kids. I want to thank you all for coming as well. It's important, and it's important to, give us your feedback as well and ideas because, we're running out of them real fast. Okay. Yes, and Kim, our newest member here at the moment, she's amazing, fast typer, got some ideas. willing to help, enthusiastic. So anybody out there that did any of you nominate for anything? No. So that's another thing that we're going to do. We're going to take that nomination paper out of the magazine, because not one single person ever fills it out and does it. And that also costs you members money, because we have to get the printer to make a special page. Okay, so that's good. You've just answered that question. We can save some money there, right there. Okay, that's it. I'm handing this over. See you, bye.
Yep, thank you, Jude. Look, we don't have time for Jade now. Just on the magazines that went to Annette, I believe that's happened for a long time, and it's not really until, I suppose, you sit there and look at what's happening. Why are we sending them up? It was because Annette would put a welcome pack together for new members, etc. So she would have some of the magazines to send out. So people can still certainly contact Annette to become a member. People can contact the shop. What will happen now is Annette will just, if she gets a few new members, she will once a week, once a month, whatever, send the shop an email to say, these are the few new people, and then the new member packs will just come out of the shop to help try and streamline the expenses. So we've probably done a lot of the general stuff now. That's all right. Look, as a part of the AGM, we declare all the positions vacant, and as Jude said, there hasn't been any new nominations or no competing nominations for positions, so we'll just run through them again now. Myself as president again, this is year 5 coming into, so this will be the last one, hopefully. Rod, vice president. Secretary, Kim. Treasurer will be Jude. I need them on so I can see what I'm writing. Editor, Kerry again. Annette will still be membership. And the general committee will still be Mark, Scott, Ben and Kel. And I don't think I've forgotten anybody. Well, it didn't even have all of those, so no. If I've forgotten anyone there, they'll come out in the magazine. I'm sorry if I forgot. So we've already had a bit of a shop report. We'll have some general business in a minute. So the committee members that are not coming back this year will be Eva, and Katie's not going to remain on the committee. She's still going to be a part of the club. You'll still see her here, no doubt. She decided not to go to nominate again this year. But everyone else, I think, will still be the same. And is Scott up the back still? No. All right. Obviously, Jude said we've got the convention coming up soon. I think you've waffled on a bit about that. So look, you've probably seen a few Facebook posts if you're on Facebook about some of the speaker profiles. That'll be all in the magazine, which is coming out with a bit more of a bio on the different individual speakers. Tara has, yesterday I caught up with her at the shop and finalised the run and the program and the topics. So that will also come out in due course. It looks pretty interesting, actually. Even when it's all written down on paper, it's probably even a better lineup than I was anticipating. So I'm pretty excited about not just the speakers, but certainly the topics. And we've tried to spread some topics across speakers and topics across different bird species, different areas of the world, and different requirements from some of the experts in their fields. North Brisbane Bird Sale, I think you all would know about that. You've seen it. If you are chasing bird tables, contact Scott. I believe he'll still be taking tables, Scott. And if you're wanting a trade, I don't know if anyone here will want to trade, but certainly jump in. It's going to be another good day, and hopefully we'll have a great turnout. Probably we've flogged the general business pretty well. Just one thing that we have been a little bit topical with us just very recently is as members, there's a lot of us, I suppose, getting older, and everyone sort of needs to think about succession plans for their birds. We've had more recently a member who's, I guess you could say, left it a little bit late, and it becomes out of hand a little bit, and they've touched base with, they're a member, they've touched base with us, and we've sort of trying to give them assistance to help rehome some of their birds. But like a lot of people, they hadn't given it a lot of thought up until it sort of comes suddenly. They become ill or whatever is the case. So I think everybody just have a bit of a succession plan, talk to your other committee members, or have a few ideas of what might do with your aviaries, do with your birds down the track, and something that no one wants to think about. But I guess at some point in time we all will come to a point where we need to part with our birds, and it's just maybe good. Talk to your families, talk to other breeders, and see what you can put in place. I had an uncle very recently pass away, and he got cancer and died quite quickly, and hadn't given any thought to that sort of thing himself too. So we sort of managed to had someone come in and help, and got rid of his birds quite easily. So we were lucky with that respect. But yeah, it's just something that everyone sort of needs to think about and keep in mind. And if you're young like Jude, you've got plenty of time to think about it. But yeah, so yeah, look, not to end on a down note, but just it's just something that we all should think about. We probably don't talk about enough. That we do have birds that live a long time and will probably outlive a lot of us in some respects. So I don't think we've probably really got anything else to talk about. If anyone got any questions about anything else, anything you'd like to bring up, we'll jump into Jade's talk in a minute. I will go and get the shop tablet, and we'll sell some raffle tickets straight after Jade's presentation. And on the tablet it'll be fairly quick, and we'll just do a raffle draw with that while we're having a barbecue. So if everyone's happy with that, we'll hand over to Jade. I don't think he needs to give himself much of an introduction, but I'm sure he will. And he won't. Oh, okay. Well, Jade's very, very new to bird hobby and industry. Oh, rightio. That's for... Yep, okay. That's another thing. Was that from Sarah?
No, it's from Scott.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Sarah. All right, well, just move this table out of the way. Oh, you want to just sit that on a chair?
Thank you. It is very quiet. Can you hear me down the back? All right. Cool. Katie, can you hear me down the back? All right, cool. Fantastic. Look, in Australia we have... That's all right. I thought you were going for a hug like the other night. But anyway, we won't get into that. It was a very nice hug. But look, in all seriousness, in Australia we have a vast number of birds, and unlike South America, we've got a lot of access to studies and to be able to study and watch birds. Now, we look at how birds have been, in the past 30, 40 years with the advent of planting, grevilleas, etc. We've seen a change in species that are successful, like the rainbow lorikeet, once outnumbered vastly by the scaly-breasted lorikeet, and on it goes. And so some species tend to suffer. Other species we know very little about. You take the Burke's parrot, for example. That's a bird that a lot of people really don't have much idea about. You've seen one in the cage, but what are they like in the wild? So if I go out to watch Burke's parrots, I'm often travelling about 10.5 hours west of here. Those birds, to be able to see them and learn about them, you have to actually get into it. And it's the same with these two species here. So what I'll do is cover a little bit on my experiences with the ground parrot, which is not vast because they're not an easy bird to observe. The glossies, I've been watching glossies since I was probably about 16, so a little bit more of knowledge there. Now, let's see how much I can stuff up a computer. This isn't an exhaustive talk, and it's not meant to go forever because I don't want to put you to sleep. Otherwise, I would have taken you to IKEA and said, there's the beds. But just an intro to the ground parrot. If we look here, you can see a map from the iNaturalist website, which sort of tells you where ground parrots are. This doesn't have a laser, does it? No, it doesn't. That's okay, that's fine. I will be the laser. But essentially where the red spots are where the birds are now being seen. But at one stage, they were being seen right down the east coast. And unfortunately, there's a stronghold in Tasmania where they believe there could be up to 100,000 birds still. The problem with the ground parrot, or eastern ground parrot, should I say, is that a lot of the heath that they come from has been wiped out. The heath there is so sensitive that if you were to take a wee, you actually can effectively destroy part of that and leach out the chemicals. It's very, very sensitive. And birds that occupy similar heath to that include emu wrens, and where I go, king quail as well. So there's this real misnomer that king quail do not come from Australia. King quail were seen in Brisbane many years ago and still are seen in parts of Brisbane. So if you hear that, there's people talking out their backside. King quail are very much native. When I go to see the ground parrots, I tend to go and see them before light. So what you'll find is that the ground parrots will call for a very short period of time, and then what they'll do is they'll stop calling. Now, some birds will react to a call, which is where you play that call and they'll react. Ground parrots do not react to a call. If you hear them, it's coincidental. Now, one area I visited, I've heard 4 birds at a time, but their densities really are low and they're getting further into trouble. But this is just as the sun rising in one spot. But you can see what it's like there. I'll show you some better photos. But these birds aren't found in woodlands. They aren't found in rainforest. They're found in these heathlands. And as we know, a lot of them are getting wiped out. So as you used to go to Sunshine Coast back in the day, there were a lot of heathlands. There still are some, but a lot of them being wiped out for pine plantations, which have benefited the yellow-tailed black cockatoo, but kick these things in the pants. So we have the ability to adjust the ecological niche and adjust things. So as I said, we've got scaly-breasted lorikeet that was really, really common. It's now in, it's been taken over by the rainbow lorikeet because, again, we've adjusted things for them. So we look here, this is an example of where they are, and this heathland's not very high. It gets probably metre and a half. But if you were to try and step into that, you'd sink right down. It's very wet underfoot, and it's also very much sandy. I'm on a walking track about here, and you could have a ground parrot in that scrub right in front of your eyes and not see it. If they go under the scrub, you're never going to see it. And I'll give you an example as to how I know that. But when I go up, it takes me about 3 hours, sometimes a bit longer, to go to the spot where I see them. I look at more than one spot, and effectively, I've only got a short period of time to see the birds and hope to get some photos. Once that's done, they're only out for a short period of time, then they tend to hang in, feed. So I do find them feeding at the tops of the plants, and then effectively, once it gets a bit warm, they hide again and I take off. So you really don't get much time with them, but also the fact that they're so aloof, and it just looks the same. So you've got little Banksy ferns, they're gone in seconds. So I've had instances where the bird's not seen me, I've not seen it because of its camouflage. It's had a drink at the roadside and quickly gone and not seen it again. My most recent experience, I saw one adult bird, and I saw it about 3 or 4 times and still never got a good photo. They don't want you near them for the most part, but there's some odd instances where they haven't. This is a photo I took of one bird recently, an adult bird. Now, a friend of mine, she had a young bird just walk around her feet. So young ground parrots at times will do what the adults don't do, and that is just walk around the feet. What people do to overcome the problem is they take really, really big lenses now, but this is a pretty reliable spot for seeing ground parrots. Now, every time I'm there, I see ground parrots, but they are in trouble. So what they're doing at the moment is we've had Kieran Aylan talk here not that long ago. Kieran and I were talking about it. They're actually doing genetic research. So up near the airport at Noosa, Sunshine Coast rather, the genetic work looks like the ground parrots are in a genetic bottleneck and may not come back from it. So there's thoughts around the possible translocation of certain birds to help with those bloodlines. That's the issue you have when you've got so much fragmented, habitat for these birds, right? They don't have a huge density of like, if you look at a lorikeet in a tree, a rainbow lorikeet is, if we go back to it, it's the most common bird for you to observe. And it's the most common bird in the bird count for the past 11 years, I believe. So we look at that, and you look at lorikeets in a tree, you've got a huge density. You don't get that with a ground parrot, right? And if one goes, you've got to hope that there's some breeding success. Now, fire plays a role as well. Too much fire, they don't breed. Too little fire, they don't breed, because they need the fire, in a sense, to help with feed and also to keep the scrub coming back and replenished. So fire does play a pivotal role in a lot of our native birds, and obviously something that we need to be mindful of. There's a spot up near Peregian Springs that was burnt quite a few years ago, and it's now looking ideal for ground parrots. So let's move in. And they have been seen up around Peregian Springs, and they're actually found occasionally. Some young ones have flown in the shopping centres at Coolum. So that's as close as I got. So what's interesting about observing this bird, I was there with some bird watchers, and this bird, when it flew in, it lifted like it was dancing with its wings, did a few of them, and then started eating. So its flight is quite interesting. I saw a similar video. Priam Citiculture Centre are actually breeding now, and they had a video where a bird did a similar thing. So if you can, do your research, find out where to go, but there's not a lot known about their life cycle, their requirements, etc. Even though they'd be kept in captivity, and they have been in the past and they are currently, there needs to be a fair bit of study. But I'm going to show you an unfortunate bird. So this bird here was found up north. I've included the two photos just to show you that middle part is where they just blend straight in, right? So this is why they blend so well. But this was an unfortunate bird. We believe what happens is during the day when I've seen them, or early morning, they flush, they will fly low, okay, just over the top of the scrub and then straight in. You won't see them once they've popped in. At night, they tend to travel. And so sometimes they'll travel, and what's thought with this one is they've gone, and this bird's actually hit power lines. So this bird was found just under power lines. So incredibly sad. So that's another stress and pressure on them that we didn't think they had, but they do have it and they don't need. So there's possibly about 4 birds in this habitat. Unfortunately, that's an adult bird. But you can see from the colouring on the back and the bird on the right, same bird. Fortunately, they're not 2 dead birds. And this is a recent find that colour that they've got is perfectly matched. And that barring on the tail, everything adds to prevent them from being seen by birds of prey. Other birds that I've seen around there have been yellow-tailed black cockatoos as well. And this is just as much as it's a sad situation, this is an important time where you can actually learn a little bit about it. As I said, the barring of the tail, but under the wing, seeing the blue hue under the wing and the stripe, but also the feet. They give you a bit of an indication about how they get through the thickets, because where they live is incredibly dense. They nest on the ground. They have to contend with snakes and other animals. Their ability to move and not be seen within 30 centimetres is so much so that they're now using infrared to find them in the scrub, right? I don't use infrared, unfortunately, but that's what they've had to resort to. So researchers use infrared to be able to see these birds. So we go to the glossy black cockatoo. Don't use ChatGPT because a lot of the information on there is not very good. But I'll just give you a general overview. So they're a bird that can be seen around here, and quite often people have no idea that they're there. I was walking through a bushland reserve up here not that long ago, and people just kept walking under the glossy blacks. And there was an instance a few years ago where I was probably about 5 or so years ago. There were 13 birds that were coming in on the offshore from the offshore islands, we believe, when there were fires. And these ladies had walked in with cameras looking for these glossies that everyone had been talking about. I said, "Do you see any glossies?" They said, "They're not here." I walked straight up to them and took photos. So they're often a case of, if you're not sure what you're looking for, what I suggest you do is, if you know they're possibly around and you're in a bushland reserve, what I do is I go for a walk and then I stop. If you hear clicking and nobody's walking behind you on gravel, there's a chance there's a glossy and they're actually feeding. Now, this is a really rough chart of distribution, but essentially we've got the Helmaturinus, which is a subspecies on Kangaroo Island. That population is starting to build, has been due to considerable efforts. Even though there was fires, this shirt Mike Hennant brought out to support the glossies when there was a fire on Kangaroo Island a few years back. But those birds essentially used to also occur on the mainland. And if we don't think that they occurred on the mainland, we'd be delusional. The problem we've had with the mainland, not just there, but all over, is the fact that the casuarinas have been wiped out. So these guys are really, really specialist feeders. They only feed in Queensland, around this area, I should say, on 2 species, Allocasuarina littoralis and Allocasuarina tortuosa, right? Without them, they just don't feed. So if you go and look at literature and studies, 99% of their diet is that, right? And obviously, as you go south, the types will change. Now, up north, we've got a subspecies that goes up towards, which is Erebus, which goes up towards Townsville. Have been seen towards Townsville, and then the one around here is Lathamide, the dominant race. All of them have got different threats. So one of the biggest threats here is just development, right? So with glossies, what you find is that they live in habitats, as I'll show you. Again, iNaturalists have just logged where birds are being seen in strongholds. So Melbourne had a recent visit in the last few years, and so you can see that deep red near Melbourne. That's because a lot of people logged that they saw the glossies there. Now, that happened again after fires. The Kangaroo Island birds are now starting to see some on the mainland, and some people have come up with this idea that that's new. Well, how did they get there? So I would suggest that they've been going there for years prior to when all the casuarina got wiped out around Adelaide, etc., and along the shoreline. So you'd have to think that their historic population probably took them right across with food, and when they didn't have the food, they stayed on the island. Now they're travelling back across because they've now got some more food planted on the mainland. That was done in the hope that if anything went wrong on the island, there's food on the mainland. So again, we've got to be careful that some dots there show significant number of birds, but the fires have certainly affected them. Just a hen bird seen here in Brisbane. But this is the sort of place you find them. All those casuarinas and a few gum trees, a little bit of water around, and they love it. Problem with glossies is they're so selective. They might visit the same tree regularly and then never go near it for years. In this reserve where I'd been walking, I had met a number of locals who, when you have a camera, they always ask what you're doing, and they'd been going to that spot for over 20 years and had not seen glossies for 20-something years. Then what happens, we had the fires on the offshore islands here, and we were seeing, I walked in there one day and 13 birds spread over 2 trees. They'll travel kilometres and kilometres just to get to feed. They won't necessarily roost there. But effectively, what you've got, again, is the other problem. You can have acres and acres and acres, hundreds of acres, and they might only exploit 3 acres. So there's that problem. So there's a need to understand why is it that these birds are only feeding in certain areas. I mean, when you look at the soil on this particular area, I can walk 100 acres and find the soil in the same type of soil all over, but yet these birds are selective. And only now have I just recently seen a pair and a youngster that's visiting that spot. So what you tend to find is glossies don't tend to flock together unless they're drinking, or there's a problem with food resources and they need to exploit them. So you might have the most abundant looking tree and a glossy goes to this thing that's sparse and got hardly anything on it. And if there's enough on there, they'll spend the whole day there. This is a bit of an optical illusion. They're two photos that are sewed together. But we've got a glossy on the top right feeding in, a tree that you like, no, there's not much in there. But again, on the left is scrub where I've gone into, and the glossy's been in there as well. Quite often, if you're looking around, they'll be in the casuarina. You just won't realise it, right? You just don't hear them, you don't see them, etc. They are the smallest of the black hockeys in Australia, and they're also the quietest of the black hockeys, for my mind. You hear them of a morning, but generally once they're in there, all you see them doing is feeding. Unless it's the hottest part of the day, glossies generally eat all day long. They don't stop. They live for eating. And then during the hottest part of the day, they might just sit there and preen one another, as a lot of birds do, but they tend to eat all day long. You often, as I said, see them in pairs. This is a spot west of Brisbane where a particular gentleman's been nice enough to go and plant a lot more. And we're fortunate, a lot of people are now in the societies planting for glossies and other birds. And so he's getting numerous pairs on his property at the moment. And as you can see, planting these birds have come to, well, they visit this area quite regularly. Got a cockbird on the left, henbird on the right. This is just an idea of what they are. So those things are about 1 centimetre long, and these birds have got to get all the seeds out of those, and they might not grab from every one of those. That's the other thing. You might have 20 seed pods, and they might deem 19 of them to not be good enough. They might deem 5 of them to not be good enough, and I don't know why. I've looked at some of them for colour. Okay, that's not ripe or whatever, and doesn't necessarily line up. So sort of observations are really important. A lot more work's getting put into them to understand why they are the way they are. But again, they're a bird that cannot compete. If you go and take all the casuarina out and put in gum trees, not going to do anything for them. They need to be able to eat. They're a specialist feeder. So they're a bird that suffers whilst others win. You get a rainbow lorikeet, you get some of the other birds, noisy miners, etc. They can exploit a lot of resources. These do not have the plasticity that some species do, where they can adapt. They also have a specialist beak. Took a fair bit to get this photo. Now, the only other black cockatoo that has a beak quite like this is the Nassau subspecies of red-tailed black cockatoo over in WA, and it also opens up rather large nuts to extract food from. But what you'll see with these birds is they tend to have that big beak, that shovel beak. They'll move it back and forth. As you can see, the food is along the bottom of the mandible, and they'll effectively use that to get the seeds out of the casuarina, and they're very effective. Now, this bird's a hen bird. Cockbirds tend to have no yellow, but there are the occasional cockbirds that do have yellow in their head. They'll have the odd yellow feather. Now, what you'll see with this hen in a moment is her working, providing this video works, working one of the cones. But at times, when they're young, they're hopeless. You'll watch them and they'll just drop all these cones. They've just not got the idea. So they stay with mum and dad for quite some time to learn how to do it. Please work. Any ability to turn that video on, Brent? I know. There we go. So she's chewing the end of it, and now she's going to chew and get the seeds out. So she's scraping her beak along and pulling them out. And see, that tongue is constantly working. And those seeds are tiny. So why do you feed all day? Because you're not getting enough out of the one cone, right? So underneath a tree, you'll find all of those, right? If they look like that, then they're fresh. And then you get some aged ones. I think I've got some in my pocket because I thought I'd bring some. Let me see. There's money there. There's probably, one here. It's a bit old. But yeah, so effectively, if the birds eat a lot out of a tree, like if they like that tree, you'll find what they call chewings underneath it. So once they're done, they drop them. Red-browed finches also eat the seeds of these casuarina as well, so they may actually feed off some of the ones that have fallen if the odd seed is left. But as you can see, it's a small cone, 1 centimetre, and then these tiny, tiny seeds. So they're eating them all day. But that just gives you an idea of how they feed. another look at, yeah. They'll eat, they're very selective still. So I remember Graham Bradley actually grew glauca, I think it was, at home, and they actually were feeding on there. When we went to Coffs Harbour, and they actually fed in there. But what he had found is that even with littoralis that they normally eat, he could collect some and they wouldn't eat from certain plants. So they were very selective. Love when my watch tells me I've got to do something. So no, they won't eat from everything in captivity. But in saying that, it's a good question. They don't need to eat casuarina only in captivity. So for my mind, it's important to feed them casuarina. But Edward de Holstrom, when he brought them into captivity, they were actually not eating and they were dying. So what they had to do is eventually get them onto mushy peas. And nowadays they'll eat casuarina, sunflower, soak seed, and a lot of other stuff. And I've even seen them eating pellets as well. So it's very interesting. This is a young hen. She's not very old, but she's got some nice yellow through her head. But you can see her demonstrating how she tears apart that cone. She's much better than when she first started. She used to just pick it up, take a little look at it, and then drop them. She's still very selective at times. The other thing that they do is, for those that are interested in plants, if you want a plant to thicken up, you pinch the growing tip out. What she's done is, and she's not the only one, they do it regularly, is they promote growth on these casuarinas by snipping off large parts, which means that in time the tree is likely to produce more growth points and thus more food. All right, so they know what they're doing. The bird doesn't grab that for no apparent reason. It's got a motive for it, right? So there might only be one or two, bits for it to feed on, not necessarily in this photo, but in others. And they're like, right, we could probably harvest this tree. There's something they like about them, right? Now, I've only seen them in Queensland on Torullosa, up at Springbrook, or littoralis, as you see here, Casuarina littoralis, all around the place. But again, just a hen demonstrating some of the things they do. So that's the other thing. You might find the odd branches laying around, and that's a result of them doing what they need to do. These are two hens. So I found over the time that finding hens is not so common on their own. And these were not on their own. These were part of a flock. You can see a third bird over the back. But cockbirds, on the other hand, I found will hang, just young cockbirds will hang together until they can find a hen. And in captivity, we've had an imbalance of hen birds up until recent times. I first had glossies when I was 18, and back then you couldn't get many hens either. But the interesting thing about this is you've got two birds there with different amounts of yellow. No two birds are the same, all right? Those glossies might be the same age, but have differing amounts. And you can get a hen glossy with a lot of yellow, and she produces young with very little yellow, and vice versa. These are wild birds seen in the Brisbane area. There's 2, 4, 5. These birds, 6. These birds were part of that flock of 13. Again, why were they there? That tree's got a lot of food, but they were there because of the fires offshore on the islands. Again, all they do all day is feed. Right? They feed and feed and feed. And I watched this flock here move about the reserve for a period of a few weeks, and they haven't been back, with the exception of that that pair with that young one. So when you get that many eating together, you know that there's a reason there's so many there, is the food pressure, and they've all got to exploit the resource. And if one glossy sees it as good, I'm sure most glossies will see it as good. So they've all flown in. So they fed over those two trees throughout the day, and I just sat and watched them, sometimes from underneath. So again, you can see a few glossies there, and there's those casuarina chewings underneath it. But effectively, they end up carpeting the hole under the tree. So if you look at it and wonder what it is, that's what it is. It's a bit like when people see a tree stump or a tree and it's been chewed apart and they don't know what it is. It's often a yellow-tailed black cockatoo who's trying to extract larvae. Now, they've got some threats. They breed from March to sort of August, September. Kangaroo Island, I think, kicks off around January. But I haven't got my laser, but up here is a nesting hollow for a glossy. What happened was I kept driving past this place, and I kept hearing glossies of an afternoon, and I thought, oh, I'll just go in there when I wasn't so busy, and popped up this little glossy. Actually saw 2 pair come in. It was a young one that was calling out to the parents. The cockbird sat about 100 metres away. The henbird sat about 50 metres away, and then she started chewing bark. Now, I'd never seen them do that to go and feed the young, but then she went and fed the young one in the hollow. That bird fledged the next day. Not far from there, and lace monitors are one of the natural predators, but about 1 kilometre from there, years ago, there was an observation of glossies breeding, and a lace monitor went up and ate the baby. They only lay 1 egg. They will go back down to lay another egg if the egg fails through rain or what have you within a short period of time. Okay, so it's not like, all right, you've got to incubate the egg and rear the chick for a certain... If that doesn't work, often it'll fail. If the egg doesn't work within a certain period of time, yeah, they'll have time to go back. But these lace monitors are very effective hunters, and it just walked up, went in, much to the disgust of those watching on who were researching glossies, and it just ate it. So there are threats. This bird, however, fledged, and the rate of success with glossies is very low too, because what we've got to remember is when a glossy breeds, it has to stay with mum and dad for a long time. So if they're going to breed, they'll breed every second year. But if the conditions in the wild are not great, they're not breeding every second year either. So that can mean that if you're in an area where the population is low, you can grandfather that population and have genetic issues or pairs that no longer produce. 2 other threats, cute little photo of a possum, particularly on islands such as Kangaroo Island, the possums and honeybees can be quite an issue. So they take over hollows. I mean, possums you understand to a certain degree, but the way around that with regards to possums is to put collars around trees. A lot of glossy nests fail, but a lot of glossy nests are hard to find. I know of people that do research and haven't found glossy nests on their own, but they've done it with the help of others reporting them. If anyone sees a glossy nest, please let me know. I'd love to know. I've only ever found one myself. Been very privileged to have found that. But yeah, this possum, just to talk about the adaptability that glossies don't have, that's a palm frond that fell into a tree. And that possum's gone, well, bugger me, it's a dried, hollow home and somewhere to live. But yeah, they can do a fair bit of damage to glossies and other birds, particularly where you've got pressures, because the birds, glossies don't just nest anywhere, right? You see a rosella, and a rosella will nest in a fence post. Glossies don't tend to do that. The other pressure is, as I said, development. And this is a glossy drinking out of a car park at a school. So up on the Sunshine Coast, one of the churches decided that this really pristine, prime habitat where these glossies were feeding regularly and were a stronghold was best turned into a nursing home. And so as a result, a lot of the population of glossies has gone from there. Whether they've died out because of it, not the whole population, but a lot of them, is unknown, or have they moved on. But what we've got to remember is, if you affect a population of any animal, even just in that location, and it moves on, it's still got the pressure of competing with others at another location, right? So it's hard to know what the impact was, but there were people telling me that they were seeing up to 40 birds at one stage and no longer seeing anywhere near that. Now, that was 40 coming in to drink, because glossies tend to feed just as pairs or family parties. But yeah, lovely bird coming in to drink. If I zoom in a bit, you won't be able to tell it's a car park. And this is a youngster from probably the year before. Looks like a cockbird to me. It's got no yellow on the tail. And then there's a hen on the right, again feeding with mum. So you'll see that, again, they've been trimming branches. There's a branch just snapped there. Okay. And this pair, again, I hadn't seen these birds in the reserve for a number of years. And I spoke to a lady and she said, oh, you found them. They were an acre or two over. And what they'd done every day is moved an acre, and then they were out in only a few days. So again, they were exploiting one tree most days, just one single tree. Dad was just in another space where I couldn't get a good photo. And that's the problem with glossies and casuarinas. Photos are terrible. They quite often hide. This is a successful young hen bird got some nice colouring, but this is a youngster. You can see the dots. Some adults will keep the dots, but in this case we've got the dots on the belly, the colour through the tail vent, under wings, but this is a young hen. And she's left the parents and she's doing well. She's not that old a bird. But this will give you an idea of how they can age and colour up. Again, not every bird's going to do this, but you can see a colour and a change of the head. Now, all the settings to take these photos were the same. She's just matured. And so 9 months of age, 14 months of age, and 17. And now she's got even more yellow. So it's hard to identify how old a glossy is in the wild. Very hard. All right, to a certain extent. Like cockbirds lose their barring at about 6 years of age in the wild. Hen birds can get that colouring. Some of them keep the dots. So if you look at the last photo, you can see the dots in her wing, in her shoulder. Now, she may keep them permanently, but most hens lose them. And as always, she's eating all the time. And see that beak is so powerful and strong and helps to get rid of the parts that they don't need of the plant and the little parts that they do need. This is a breeding hen that's got a bit of age on her, and she produces mostly young, from my understanding, with good colouring. But again, it's not always the case. But glossies, we need to be mindful. There are a lot of pressures on them. They're now in good numbers in captivity. There are some being bred overseas. But I'd implore anyone to get out there, do your research, find the birds, study them, and report them. It's really important that we have an understanding so that councils are aware of what there is and what can be done to help them. So like there's parklands down at Benogan where they get glossies. They've even got a glossy track and they're quite readily seen there. So a few facts. As said, the hen birds, they'll all have their own unique pattern of yellow, and some cockbirds might have the odd yellow feather. They are the smallest of the cockatoos. And I hear people in captivity say, I've got Kangaroo Island birds, I've got this bird, I've got that bird. Quite often they, with all due respect, don't have an idea. There are some people that may genuinely have a Kangaroo Island bird, but for the most part, they don't have any size difference. And the other thing that comes with that is, how do you know that it's not just a result of your bird having been bred from a pair that had a lean season in captivity, right? So this notion that we know where they come from, unless they're direct from the source, we have no idea. All right, so they'll get up to 50 centimetres, but you might just have a bird that was really well fed, or like peanut butter or whatever, because some people hand rear them with peanut butter. This is the hardest of the black cockatoos to hand rear, harder than palm cockies, and only a few people have been able to do it. I am working for the society to produce an article on a guy that's hand rearing them and how he does it. And even the way he does it, some people can't do it and succeed with it. So they're very tricky birds. They're not the easiest birds to breed in captivity. Yes, you might get eggs, but getting them onto the perch is more than just eggs. As I said, if the first egg fails, they might go for a second or a third. Now, I had a hen bird, and she would lay off the perch the first time, and she'd go back for a second one, and a third if she needed to. And they're likely to breed every second year if conditions are favourable. So that's the stress and pressure, again, that they've got. But if you need any more info, glossyblack.org.au is the place to be. I've just put their website up there. It's a great place. You can research them. You can report sightings. You can donate. And that will effectively help not just up here, but all throughout the range. These birds have suffered through a lot of fire and contraction through housing being built. Thank you. That was quick so they could get sausages, mate. I think I would have bought them if I kept them, if I did anything longer.
Really good. Thank you, mate.
When are we singing together?
Singing? Yeah, that was really good. Thank you very much. Anybody got questions on that? Would be? I don't think... I've probably never had a real appreciation for the glossies, but until you see them in photos like that, and no doubt in the wild, but... yeah, those spectacular photos, Jade, too. So, questions?
None, it's good.
None. Surely. I've got a...
No, they're not great. So the question is, are they breeding well in captivity? No, I know of people that have had 10 pairs and get one young. They can feed them everything right. They're just not a bird that is easy to get going. Even in the wild, they can be right finicky. So, no, they're not the easiest bird, and there needs to be a lot of work done. Fortunately, the guys that they're with are pretty much dedicated to them. Like you look at Graham Bradley, he was the most successful person. I could walk in and every pair of birds had a baby. What was his secret? I don't think there was a secret. He was just good at what he did, and his birds just bred. But for a lot of people, no, there's a lot of ups and downs. People need to pull them. There are a lot of hens. They don't like nest inspections for the most part. Some people have got them where they nest inspect and they're fine, but there are a lot of them, they will leave their young if they've got an inspection. So my thought process with any bird with inspection is I do it from day one if they're young. If you've got a black cockatoo as an example, it's got a hollow, I just walk up and look at the hollow every time, open the door. They're young, they get used to that. They know you're going to do it every day. So that's been the thing with the glossies. They're not an easy bird to get on the perch. But yeah, good question. And they're not a hard bird to feed nowadays either. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're seen down that way. They're seen down Woodenbong and other areas where the heathland is. Yeah, absolutely. Look, the problem has been the fire issue, flooding and other things, but also it's just habitat degradation. I mean, the moment you start making it, same with glossies, you start fragmenting populations, you start ruining genetics. In some areas, the only remaining birds are mum, dad and kid. And you imagine mum mate with kid. It's not a good idea, or future offspring mating with one another. So yeah, it's a real problem, but you're right, they are seen down there. Over to you. I think we need sausage time.
Yeah. Barbecue time, yeah. I had a Jade come a number of years ago to my place and took a photo of my glossy black cockatoo. It's a bit smaller than some of the ones that you see up here, but yeah. All right, no, that's great. Round of applause for Jade. Thank you very much for that. We've got the perpetual. Well, it's not quite a perpetual one. Yeah. So, yeah. It's a flash one. This one. So, yeah, that's because Kerry did it. So look, thank you very much for doing this again. It's much appreciated, and we better get the.
We've got to do that again. Yeah. Just wait, I better turn it around.
All right, thank you very much. We won't close because Jude's got something to say. I'll go and grab the tablet and. Right. Okay. All right. That's it from me. Thank you very much. Oh.
Okay. There was a question during the AGM part of the meeting, and it was about someone, say, in South Australia that would like to be on the committee and how they can help and whatever. And so I tried to have a little chat with Brent while this was going on. And you know that you can help from afar. I mean, we've done it from council. It doesn't really matter. You just can't be on the executive part of it, like one of the big jobs. But, you know, there's a lot of things that people can do from afar. Now, we've got a nomination that she wanted to put it in, but she didn't know that she was allowed. So is she allowed to put the nomination in? And before the AGM finally is closed, Tracy Heritage, a member for many years that lives in South Australia, came over to the last convention, and everything's really, really, I think, going to be valuable. She knows a lot of people. She's got a lot of good ideas. And I think she would be great on the committee. So as a general committee member, I will nominate her. And does she have to be seconded? Yep, seconded. And as you know, as the general meeting people, nobody got any objections to that? No, I think that's fantastic. So, and it might give other people some ideas. You know, you can do stuff from Zoom, and you know, and we're all on the phone, and we've got computers. So, you know, lots of people have articles in their heads. They've got contacts in places that we don't think of. Make a better magazine, make a better sort of committee. So I think it's fabulous. Okay, so Tracy Heritage is now part of the committee for 2026. Congratulations, Tracy.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you all for coming. We'll take this outside and you can have a look at this, and I'm sure the barbecue will be very close, if not ready already. So thank you again. I can actually smell it now.